Hey everyone, it's Lexi and today I'm going to be doing a review and discussion of Name Verity by Elizabeth Wein. For those of you who don't know, this is a historical fiction novel about two girls who were about in their 20s during World War II and their involvement within the military and their kind of how their friendship evolved. So at the beginning of the novel, it's actually a confession. We find out that one of the girls has been captured and the other one has died in a plane crash. And so it kind of tells a story about these two girls and their friendship and how it evolved throughout the war. And they are during World War II, and they are one's Scottish and one is English, and they're fighting with the Allied forces. And then one day when they were going on a mission, Maddie is the pilot, and then we don't really know what kind of Verity does, but something goes bad and one of them is ended up captured by Nazis in France, and then the other one, we are told, has died. So this kind of tells the story about kind of their adventures and everything leading up till this point in the book. And what's interesting is that the book is kind of written from a confession standpoint. It's almost kind of like a diary, because Verity, the one who is captured, she is kind of forced to make a confession. So she's kind of gives them more than they bargained for and ends up writing kind of a memoir of her friendship and her experience in the war. And this is this is probably one of my favorite books that I've read this year. I definitely will be making my top 10 of 2016. It was very reminiscent of The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which is one of my all-time favorite books as well. And I liked it because it does tell you the story, kind of the female perspective of war and how women, women's role in the army and military during this time period, and it was really well done. So I gave this a book 4.5 out of 5 stars, close to 5 stars. The only complaint that I have about this book is that there's a lot of plain terminology, and the author of this book is actually a pilot, so you could tell all this terminology came naturally to her, but it was difficult for me just to kind of keep up with this. But it's just a beautiful novel. If you're looking for a really good historical fiction novel, I definitely recommend that you check this one out. I know this one is historical fiction, and I know that can be a turnoff, but this is definitely a standalone book, even because I enjoy more historical fiction that's more leaned towards adults, but this one just blew me away. I think it is young adult because it does deal with some of the horrible things that took place in it, but it doesn't go into as much detail as we see in adult books. So yeah, if you haven't read this one, I highly recommend that you check this one out. This will be kind of the end of my kind of review, non-spoiler review. So if you haven't read this one, then I recommend that you check out now. So oh my goodness, I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did. I saw very good reviews for this book, so I was kind of in the beginning really thrown off with it being kind of confession from Julie's standpoint. It took me a while to kind of get into that writing style, I think, but once it was there, once I got into it, it just took off. I finished this really quickly. I really liked how when Julie was writing with her friendship with Maddie, it felt very natural. It felt like something that I feel everyone can relate to, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Just kind of how Julie is the very outgoing one, and then Maddie is more the one who's just quiet, and I really like that. This has definitely become one of my favorite books. It was just, I liked how when Julie was kind of talking about what was going on within when she was captured with the people, how she did kind of had some humor into that. I think there was one part when she was talking about, I forget their name, but the girl who was the girl Nazi, and then the guy who Maddie, whose families Maddie was staying at, that farmhouse, that they were talking and just kind of their flirting stuff with that was really funny, but it was kind of hard to see because you can see in the beginning she starts out really strong, and as she gets further and further done with her memoir almost, that you can kind of see how she's just given up hope, and that was really sad. I think I did kind of expect Maddie to be alive in it, just because, I don't know, I felt like, because they say this is a big thing about friendship, and we never really got to see Maddie's point of view, so I suspected that she was still alive. It took me, I think, in the beginning, it took me a little bit to kind of get used to, because I, like, kind of Julie's perspective, like Julie's character, because she doesn't really introduce herself into kind of her little memoir until later on. So I was kind of a little confused about that, but I see now it was really relevant to the storyline, because it's kind of like how their friendship took off, and I really enjoyed that. I also, like, there's so many characters I really liked. Maddie I really liked as well. We don't get introduced to her until like the second half of the book, because at that time we assume that she has died, but she's actually alive, which I think it's kind of obvious that she is. But I also like how she was never really the outgoing one, and how everything that happened, kind of her revenge kind of made her step up and kind of be that bigger person. And like the whole scheme where they had, where they were gonna blow up the bridge and try to get Julie, and Maddie being the one shooting her, like that broke my heart. Like I actually get really upset thinking about it, because I had like this big, I was hoping that they would like find each other in the end, but how Julie kind of knew Maddie was there, and she just kind of was okay. Like I think she kind of gave her okay to like kind of kill her. Like, so another thing that I kind of enjoyed about this book was that they did have strong female characters as well. They had, obviously there was Julie and Maddie, but then there was also, then there was also Engel as well, who was kind of like the German Nazi who kind of helped Maddie kind of get her revenge on all the Nazis, and kind of gave her clues on how to, like, how to save Julie the first time. And I really like that character. I feel like when Julie was talking about her, I feel like you could kind of get the sense that she did not like kind of the position she was in and how the men treated her, and she could relate back to Julie, and I really enjoyed that. And then also the American radio host as well, and how she kind of was also like a double spy and just kind of got more information on Julie as well. And it was just a phenomenal book. I think like the quote here I have highlighted is very heartbreaking, but I think it's like perfectly sums up the novel. This is from Maddie at the end. She says, "But a part of me lies buried in lace and roses on a river bank in France. A part of me is broken off forever. A part of me will always be unflyable, stuck in the climb." And I think that just perfectly sums up the novel, and how, you know, like I think like when someone close to you dies, like someone who is so important, that you do lose a part of yourself. And I feel like that perfectly sums up it, like kind of this book in general, just how important friendship is, and just kind of being there for someone. So yeah, like I definitely recommend that you haven't already, like you check this book out. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below like what you felt about this book. So yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.